Welcome to Stories Behind the Frames, a video series that will expose you to new artists and take you on an artistic journey. I'm your host, Dave Petty, and I'm thrilled to have you join us. Through my years at the Frame Center and my time spent in the South Shore art scene, I've had the opportunity to make many relationships with so many talented artists. Inspired by these connections and a wealth of untold stories, I've decided to share these conversations with you. The hope of Stories Behind the Frames is to show you new artists, the interesting artwork they create, and what a thriving art community we have here on the South Shore. One of the ways we do that is by partnering with organizations like South Shore Art Center. And because of that partnership, I've gotten to know and build a strong relationship with Patrice, their executive director. I'm always excited to talk about art and ways to better the South Shore's art scene. I'm really grateful that she let me record our latest conversation so we could shed a little bit more light on the Art Center and Patrice's personality. I'm excited to, actually finally sit down and record one of these conversations with Patrice. Patrice is the director here at South Shore Art Center, one of the pillars of the art communities on the South Shore art community. And I got a few questions I'd love to ask her, and want to kind of expose her and the South Shore Art Center a little bit more to our audience, and get some and have another conversation.
Yes,
I feel like we've had a number of conversations that are have always been interesting, and talking about Nancy's work, before we got the camera going, you said you picked up one of her pieces this year.
Nancy Colella, for those just joining us.
Yeah.
I'm addicted to her barns.
As am I. I think that all these structures, I said it over and over again to a number of people. I just love that, that look, that shape, and how it shows. I have a few things going at my house, and there's like a number of, they all have that similar thing to it.
She has a great sense of color and texture too.
Yeah, she does. Is that the first one of her pieces?
That was the first one because somebody keeps buying them before I get a chance to.
Now, we're behind us. We have the Blue Ribbon Show. Mm-hmm. I've noticed a few of the ribbons that get some interesting pieces too. The Braille piece over there. Who's that?
Walter Kopeck was new to our community.
Yeah.
He, in fact, is a Boston artist, and he joined the organization to be in the show. So I guess for people who aren't super familiar with the Art Center, mm-hmm. we have 2 opportunities a year where everyone who's a member mm-hmm. has an opportunity, a guaranteed opportunity to have a work in a show. Mm-hmm. There are 2 member shows. This one's Blue Ribbon, and the other, of course, is with our festival. Mm-hmm. And that is important if you're a local artist and you don't have those exhibition opportunities. This is a great place to have your work shown on the wall where people can come see it, maybe buy it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, his, in fact, I haven't seen the remarks yet. Kava Mujabi, I think I said that right, who is the publisher for Artscope, was our judge. Mm-hmm. And he selected that because he loved, for the work itself, but he also loved this idea of taking visual art and breaking down some of those barriers. Mm-hmm. Because it's visual art, and what if you can't see?
Yeah.
So that's what that whole piece is about.
Is that one encouraged to put your hands on too, or?
I believe so. I definitely. Not that I can read Braille, but it's very tactile.
Yeah.
No, that one's interesting. And then the other one, is that Ken?
That's Ken Lindgren, yes.
Yeah, I have a couple of his bowls I've bought at festivals over the years.
Over the years. Well, and it's interesting that you point that out too, because a lot of people don't consider woodworking or bowls or sort of functional art as fine art.
Yeah.
So I loved the fact that Ken, and I just love his work anyway. I think he's a master in wood, but I loved the fact that that was recognized with the blue ribbon.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting piece. I feel like some of the pieces that I see of his in shows are, next level. Like he's going for, he's going to make a statement.
Yes.
But I mean, even the bowls I feel like
they're masterpieces. Yeah, they're gorgeous.
Yeah, there's some really interesting stuff. Now, when a show like this, are you familiar with just about everybody that's on this?
It's so funny that you say that. So when Pia, we have two interns, and I always encourage them as part of the learning process to sequence a show, because when you get a show like this, you have no idea. Everybody's, as I mentioned, welcome to put a piece in. You have no idea what you're going to get, and everybody works with different styles, different mediums. So I encourage her to sort of play around with sequencing. Then I'll come in and make some final touches. But she did a great job. I didn't really have much to do with that. But she had the works laid out, and I was walking around, and I said, okay, and it just gets. And so I knew that wolf up there, I was like, oh, that's Judy St. Peter. You know Judy St. Peter. And I know obviously the quilt was either going to be Virginia Holloway's or Gwyneth Trefethen, but I know the difference between them, so I knew that was hers. And there were, and I was like, oh, that's Tina Watson, and that's Christine Marone. I know them. But then there were other works where I would guess the artist. I was totally wrong. Or I just couldn't figure it out. And so people were trying something new, and I love that. So it's a mixture. So yes and no.
It's fun. I mean, it's fun. I mean, I'm used to seeing stuff all the time. So it's like you know certain ones, like you can pick out pages from a mile away.
Yeah.
And pages is always fun to see too.
Although I confused hers, because we have a local artist named Jim Burke who often does similar still lifes. His technique is a little different, and usually his color saturation is a little different. But I thought that was him.
Oh.
Yeah, he had a couple of works in festival that reminded me of that. So I said, oh, that's Jim. And they said, oh, it's Pete. And I said, oops.
I mean, there's always some similarity.
Exactly.
Sally's another one, across. She's just it has a very
distinctive voice. Jan McElhenney behind there. Yeah, exactly. Or they might do subject matter like Dorothy Pentheny. Does a great cow.
I have one of Judy's cows. I mean, her stuff is fantastic.
Oh, it really is. Yeah.
Yeah, she does a great job. That style is
her horses.
Are
just, they're so beautiful. I have one of her chickens.
Dude.
In fact, so Bill Wenzel is another Judy St. Peter follower. So whenever her work comes in, we'll text each other. And I had already bought one of the chickens from the Small Works, and I said, I have another one left. But then we had used that particular image for outreach about the show, and he texted me last week and he said, are we duking it over Animal Spirit? I said, this one's outside my range. $2,500, it's for sale.
I mean, she does a great job. The cow piece I bought from her, I was having a conversation, and my wife was in the dairy business, so I had a conversation with her of the subject matter in the festival that I ended up buying. I'm walking to the festival, and all of a sudden I see one of her, because I love her style.
I do too.
And that's where I came across that one, but I feel like she knew. that I would buy.
Exactly. She's like, I know.
I get a good way to sell a piece. I mean, I feel like you have the job you have here is just must be a joy, to see a lot of to be surrounded with art.
It is. I mean, it's funny. The staff and I eat lunch together every day. We eat in this room at a table that people viewing this won't be able to see, but you and I can look at. Big walnut table, farm table. We sit around and we learn about each other. Sometimes we talk about work, sometimes we don't, but we're constantly surrounded by art. I mean, it really doesn't get better than that. And we talk about the art that's on the wall. And our education director, Tony Pila, ran the education department for the Bedford schools for years. He has so much knowledge, and he'll just get in depth, and we don't always agree with, because art's subjective. But he'll tell us why sometimes, too much detail, but it's always a really robust conversation, and it's exciting. I mean, it's.
Well, I mean, differing opinions on art is, I think, it's a lot more, it's easier to talk about than politics, but but you can hear a lot,
You do.
in hearing somebody, like Tony, I'm sure that is knowledgeable and has like strong opinions and has been around it for, you probably can get an opportunity to learn something from
All the
them.
time, yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing, like, Tony, yes, but everybody brings different skills, and
Yep.
and not all of us have art backgrounds. I mean, I don't have a visual art background, I'm a poet, but so it's fascinating to talk, like another member of the team is really rooted in art history and brings in that perspective, whereas it's just really fascinating to hear, and the fresh perspectives of the interns.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Love
youth and like, when you have those type of conversations, because we have interns and like college students that come in and spend the summers with us, and talking to them about their perspective of art, I think is, it's fascinating because, I mean, you want to be a lifelong learner, right?
Right,
and
exactly.
a lifelong appreciator of art, and like, all of a sudden they mention something, or, something that they're studying that, I didn't, might not have taken the class on, and, you find something out, find out
Right.
something new, and then when you look at stuff in the future, it's like, now now you grasp that little bit of their knowledge, and you're like, oh, this is.
I know, it's
right.
it's so interesting to just have these conversations, and to just, like you said, the lifelong learning, but it's just to engage with other people, and I think that's hearing different perspectives is actually what makes it interesting.
Yeah.
And it's actually a nice theme back to the Blue Ribbon Show, because this represents so many different styles, but it's also it's interesting to see, like, what are people working on right now?
Yeah.
Where are they going with this? And I don't know, it's just I find the whole thing really fun.
Yeah, no, as far as like a percentage of members that actually enter this show, what do you figure?
Not all of our members are artists.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. We have about 100 works that were submitted.
Because you're opened up into the whole.
In the whole building, but probably closer to 600 or 700 members.
Yeah.
So maybe 1/6
Yeah.
would be submitting work.
Yeah, I mean, there's such an important role too of the members who are just
Supporting us financially, and that's, although and I'm gonna get on my little goalpost now, I don't think that's the right word. my platform, because I refuse to call them patrons, because I consider the term an outdated one, because I don't think, back in the day they would be paying for the artists to create, but I think that artists should be celebrated. There shouldn't be that unbalanced relationship.
Yeah.
So I call them innovators.
Innovators? I like it.
Because they're innovating, by supporting artists, and by supporting us to in turn support artists, they're facilitating innovation in the world.
No, and I as I said in the open, I think that this organization is great. The facility is top notch. It feels like a museum. When you're walking through here, almost maybe. Do you feel like it ever intimidates people too?
It's funny you said that, because I never would have thought that, but I remember when I first became executive director here, and again, there's a couple different things at play here. So I've always been in the arts world for the last 20 plus years, but I've been working in Boston for a youth arts organization. And I saw this job as an opportunity for my kids who were younger at the time to know that art was important for them, not just in Boston, like that creative youth development. That's my particular passion. But also just that for artists in general, what I loved about South Shore Art Center was the fact that it was welcome to everybody. But having said that, I had never personally felt welcomed in. Not that anybody had excluded me, but I was on committees with some people and nobody ever said, hey, come to this exhibit opening. They're free, they're open to the public, it's 6 to 8, come have some wine and cheese. And so I was like, I really have to make that my platform. And, the same with education, with all of it, that this is a place, doesn't matter what your age is, what your art level is, whether you are even a visual artist, this is a place where you should be able to come in.
Yeah.
And that we have art classes from every range, from
Yeah.
like very entry level to master level. We have exhibits. But a friend of mine was an artist. She said, "Oh, I wish I could show at a place like South Shore Art Center." And I said, "You can."
Mm-hmm.
And it was probably May of that year. She said, "We've got 2 member shows." She joined the next day and she put her work in both shows, and she sold at both shows.
Okay.
So it was like, that for me was like a perfect anecdote to who we are and what we want to be.
Yeah.
And then I'm really trying to amplify that sense that this is a place for everybody.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel very welcome here, and I just wonder sometimes if people, not that they're not welcome, but sometimes maybe,
Or
there's like
intimidated,
this, they feel like there's this wall, or they're intimidated to walk in the door because they don't know what to expect.
Right.
I feel like I get the same thing at
Yeah.
the store. That's why we try to do like whatever we can as far as outreach
Exactly.
and have events that are even unrelated to like framing.
Right.
At the store to just get people through the doors and realize it's not like
Right.
it's not a scary thing.
Yes.
You walk in, you're not committed to like
purchasing or
buying
yeah.
something or like it's about like viewing and like seeing stuff. So I feel like it's nice for people that know like an artist and then like then they have in their mind like a reason why they can walk through the door and not I'm here to see Karen's piece. I'm here to see
that they can just come in.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been pretty successful at sort of breaking those barriers down. Some more recent shows, people
Yep.
were just excited about the shows. I think the biggest turning point for us would have been November of 21 when we did a show called Black Lives and White Fragility.
Yeah.
Obviously it was, so we have 2 jury shows a year,
Yeah.
autumn and spring, and they have prompts, and usually so the next one coming up will be called Points of Departure.
Mm-hmm.
But we often have a black and white show. It's a pretty common
Yeah.
jury show theme, right?
Yeah, I have a big piece of home.
from-
It's black and white shades of gray.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite pieces actually, and it's like not to take
No,
through your
no,
platform,
but
but yeah, it just was when I saw that show. It had like some shade, it was shades of
Just
gray
a little-
also. It was the paint things, and it had a little bit more color than a lot of the
Oh,
pieces
yes, I
that were
think,
here.
yeah.
That one I bought years ago, and another one of the pieces I don't even know who the artist is. But it was a cool show.
But to that point, so the black and white show is a pretty common show that we have
Yeah.
here. But in 2021, as people were beginning to get vaccinated, so COVID had happened, but we also we were grappling with how real racism is,
Yeah.
right? I think a lot of us try to pretend it's not there.
Mhm.
Or you live in this community, South Shore, not the South Shore so much because that's more diverse, but this very immediate locale of Cohasset, Situate,
Yep.
Norwell, it's pretty white
Yeah.
and it's pretty progressive, and
Mhm.
we feel like, of course we support,
Mhm.
we don't even think about it because we're not racist.
Yeah.
Racism is here and it's present, and we saw what was happening with George Floyd, and we weren't addressing it. We're trying to just shove it under a rug.
Mhm.
And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna call it out,
Mhm.
and let's have a show that actually acknowledges the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Because it's not okay to act like this isn't something that's real. And so we deliberately named it Black Lives, evocative of Black Lives Matter, and
Yeah.
White Fragility for the book White
Yeah.
Fragility.
Yep.
To have a conversation. That was the root of it. And I did have Rob Gibbs, who I had worked with before,
Yeah.
but he's also, at the time, he was the artist in residence at
Yeah.
MFA. He's done a series of really amazing murals throughout Boston. He was our juror.
Yeah.
And, he even says, Patrice, that work was heavy.
Yeah.
And it was so what people submitted was, some of it was really hard to look at and,
Yeah.
and hard to digest,
Mhm.
but it was important. And so we installed it, and I got some mixed,
Yeah.
some people saying, I don't know why you feel the need to do this, blah, 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 blah. But I had so many people come down from Boston
Yeah.
and from surrounding areas that had never been here before, and they came just for this exhibit. And there was a lot of people of color who said, one guy, I remember because said, I could not imagine what this town of Cohasset could have to say about Black Lives Matter. And he came out of it and he said, yeah, you're trying.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. And that's all I was doing, because I'm gonna get it wrong. I'm a white woman. I'm gonna get it wrong. I'm gonna say stupid things out of ignorance.
Yeah.
But if I don't make mistakes and have somebody tell me I did it wrong and learn from it, nothing is gonna change. So that's where I'm coming from.
You have to live life and make mistakes to learn, right?
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
I think that's one of my
We've all made mistakes. We've all made mistakes. The danger is when you pretend that you're not, that there's no mistake made.
Yeah.
That's what, I'm not gonna get political, but that's what's going on in our country right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's two different
There's
sides.
different narratives, but when you don't take ownership for your mistake, that is amplifying the wrong that you've done. You've got to say sorry. We all make mistakes, and you've got to acknowledge it. And that's the role art plays. Art is a way to document what's happening in the world.
Yeah.
And yes, we're a social arts center, and we're small, but that doesn't mean that we're not attuned to global issues.
Yeah.
And challenges, and that we can't be part of it.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of times the artists, their works, what their environment looks like, they're painting things from,
Yes.
What they're feeling, what they're thinking. So, and, I'm sure that one was an interesting one.
It was. We did another one earlier in COVID. I think it was probably our spring 21 show that we called Pivot, because everybody was sick of that damn word.
Yeah.
But we did. We all had to adjust within really quickly.
Yeah.
And be shut in, and then, now we're open again, and how do we do this? And the artist's response to that was fascinating as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's when you one of the ways, I guess that was a very long-winded response to you talking about how do you get people in or not feel intimidated. It's just, I don't know how not to make them feel intimidated, but you just got to keep having reasons for them, like you said, to come in.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I always have thought just try to get people through the door once and let the place speak for itself, right? So they cross through the threshold once, and they're either gonna, at my store, I always want people to have a good experience and feel welcome. That'll bring them back. It's not about the, and who knows who they are, or what or what their relationship will be like down the road, but they don't have to ever worry about that first step through the door. I think the festival is a great kind of way to bring people in.
Yes.
Because people come from all over just for that, but I worry sometimes, do they even know, do they make the connection to come down the street?
Perfect point. There's two reasons why that's a perfect point. One is, there's a couple of lovely churches who also have their fundraisers at the same time.
Yeah.
They fully support it. One is the First Parish, and they have their lobster roll, which is great, and they make, that's a big fundraiser for them. And they know they have a captive audience. And the other is Second Congregational Church, which has their strawberry shortcakes, which they call the Strawberry Festival.
Yeah.
But they have had some signage which, makes people think the whole event is the Strawberry Festival. And I remember saying, well, if I were going to a strawberry festival and I got art, I think I'd be a little disappointed. But when I go to an art festival and I'm getting art, there's nothing to disappoint about our festival. And I like to call it like taking all the work we do throughout the year and just bringing it on to Cohasset Common for 3 days.
Yeah.
Just this huge 3-day art immersion with kids activities, kids art, really great fine art, and then artisans and food, and this year beer and great music. It's a fun 3 days.
It was a tough weather this year, but I think
it was.
I got here Sunday and it was a great.
Sunday you couldn't move. There were so many people. It's how do they know that what's happening there is the origins are here. Yeah. And so we did have our what we call our festival preview gala. We had that here this year. All mixed on reception. Some people loved that it was here. Yeah. Some people really want it back at the festival. So there's different ways of doing that.
Carrie's work,
there was no way that was going to be at the festival.
You couldn't put that under a tent. That has to
had to be here
in this museum type of setting.
It did,
But what do you think for next year? You think
A lot of feedback is that it really needs to go back to the
The
10.
10.
But what we're gonna do is we're gonna weigh the, that decision on the art itself.
Yeah.
And that's really how it has to be done. Rather than limit what art we showcase because it's gonna be under a 10. We're gonna see who the artist is, work with that artist, and then we'll ultimately make the decision that way. It will go back to a Thursday night though.
Yeah.
Saturdays aren't good for a lot of reasons in June.
Well, even if you go under the tent, I wonder if having the doors open here and like, you know,
Yeah.
encouraging people to come in to get something or like maybe have some free water or something, you know, just so
Yes,
they walk
well,
through
it
the-
is open during
Yeah,
festival.
it is.
But there needs to be more signage directing people back and forth. There was a year, and I got permission to do it, we ended up not, we ran out of time. We had, Marcia Ballou was our artist in residence at the time, and we had done a series of butterflies with little kids.
Yeah,
And we were gonna make, decals on Final Cut
yeah,
and make a whole pathway to the festival,
nice.
back and forth, so people would know that it linked
Yeah.
between the two. And it didn't happen, I still like the idea.
Yeah, it's a
Maybe
good
it's
one.
little footsteps or something, but we haven't figured out what that's gonna be yet.
I think that's a great, you know, that would be a great, you
Yeah,
know.
some kind of wayfinding.
Yeah, you know, subconsciously show the, you know,
Yeah.
the connection. Yeah, any thoughts on who will, be the future, the next one, or?
I'm looking, there's a couple of artists we're looking at, probably won't have that finalized until November. though.
Yeah. Now, what's that selection process like? Is that solely you get to make the decision yourself, or is there a committee that's involved?
There's a committee, I mean, I often will recommend,
Yeah.
but we have co-chairs that work with
Yep,
the gala. We have an exhibitions committee, so there's names that come up. A year and a half ago, that was my selection, and this past year was my selection.
yep,
But in years previous, it wasn't the case.
Yep.
But I always loved the selections that were made.
yeah. You know, Rob Gibbs and the Kerry Walensky is gonna be a tough act to follow.
I
But, you
know,
I'm
yeah.
sure that I think that there's a tremendous amount of talent, or, you know,
Yeah.
associated with with the area. Now, do you try to keep that artist to be somebody that is like local, or is it? do you
No, not
reach- you know,
necessarily. Like, we've had Nantucket artists,
Mm-hmm.
we try to make it not so far away because we can't afford to pay for the art to get transported
Yeah.
back and forth. This year we did, but that's a whole different story because that was such a special,
Yeah.
one-time only exhibition. But, you know, I'd like them to be New England if possible. Also because I think it's good for them, because then people can see their work
Yeah.
again. Or New York, I'd be okay with New York.
Now, about the selection in this space is that, I see you guys your schedules are,
Yes.
which is, I think is fantastic, because I think that like making sure that everybody has that information out as to like classes and schedules and like having that published, I think is so important, so that to avoid conflicts. Or,
Yes,
you know,
And I do try to work with the James and North River and other organizations.
Yeah.
So to make sure that our openings don't overlap.
Yeah.
Because I don't want people to have to make those difficult choices. That's
Yeah.
a hard thing.
well, I know that Thursday was Blue Ribbon and then Saturday was OCB.
Well, we used to always be Friday openings.
Yeah.
And often it would conflict with First Friday, which is a big deal in Boston.
Yeah.
So I swapped ours to Thursday
Yeah.
specifically for that reason, because I wanted to make sure that it was, people didn't have to make that choice.
Yeah.
That they could just come here and hang out.
Yeah.
But in terms of how we get the artists here, exhibitions, we have an exhibitions committee. It's members of our board of directors and other members of the community. And so we have a whole form that's online. People download the form, they fill it out, they submit their concepts. We typically do not have a single artist show in this. It's usually group shows.
Yeah.
Sometimes we work with the artists to get them to that point.
Yeah.
And so that's how the selections are made here. But then we have 2 other galleries on site in our back room. We have the Dillon Gallery, which right now is being used to accommodate the Blue Ribbon as well. But that, and then we have the Manning Gallery. The Manning Gallery is for our faculty.
Yep.
So that will.
That's the one right up.
Right, yes, it's our entry. We actually have 3 other, right now we have nothing in there, but in our vestibule, We call that, it's just been named the Sebi Strekalowski Welcome Way.
Okay.
Sebi Strekalowski was a board president, he was a
Yep.
gallery artist, and he actually was the architect for this building.
Yep.
He always painted live. If you've been to festivals, which I know you've been,
Yep.
you would always see him with his easel set up, and he would be plein air painting
Yep.
every year. Even during COVID, when we did a hybrid, basically online exhibitions, an online festival, he was there on Cohasset Common painting live.
Yep.
He's phenomenal. He passed away on Father's Day a year ago, the
Wow.
last day of festival. And so this year we wanted to honor him. We held
Yep.
the festival in his honor. We are commemorating him forevermore by
Yep.
dedicating that entry space as the Sebi Strekalowski Welcome Way, because it is the portal to creative journeys,
Yep.
and he has been that role. So that space also, with a lot, I have stories within
Yeah,
stories,
yeah.
but that space is, we call it a gallery artist spotlight. And typically, like right now, there's nothing there, but typically there'll be some easels there.
Yep.
We're actually putting in a permanent hanging system,
Yep.
so there'll be artwork always there.
I mean, it's great because you can light it up at night
At
too.
night,
I mean,
yeah. And
I
that was
remember,
when we
it
started it.
Pieces were
It would have been Kelly
Okay, Broderick.
Broderick,
Yes,
yes.
I get the-
Yeah, I get the Kellys mixed up,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes, because that during COVID, when our doors were closed,
Yep.
that was a way people could still have access to art, and we would rotate it once a month. So those are those spaces. I've mentioned gallery artists a few times.
Yep.
Gallery artists is a special designation of membership that we have here. Artists will, it's almost like submitting an exhibition
Yep.
proposal. There are 2 times a year where we have 3 gallery, already appeared in,
Yep.
juried in gallery artists. They'll review work submitted by a candidate,
Yep.
and they'll be voted in, or they'll be given critique on how they could improve their application
Yep.
and be voted in subsequently. Once you become a gallery artist here, that opens you up to a ton of exhibition opportunities.
Yep.
So the back gallery, the Dillon galleries for our gallery artists, Spotlight is one. And then we have 2 off-site spaces. The Paul Pratt Memorial Library down
Yep.
the street here in Cohasset, they have a whole conference room, which
Yep.
gets...
Came out a great show, man. That was
Kim Madry's?
Yeah.
Oh, Glow, that
Yeah,
was
that
awesome.
was- yeah.
With the black lights. She sold almost every piece
Yeah.
from that. It was like that.
Yeah.
And we partner with South Shore Conservatory only with their Hingham campus,
Yeah.
but we have shows there.
Mhm.
Yeah. So lots of opportunities
Yeah.
to showcase work, and
And all that information is out there in the,
it's
for
all
the public.
online.
all
Yeah,
online.
yeah, absolutely. And we're getting a new website. So if you look at our website and you say, "Hey, Visual Artist Organization, what's with your website?" That's what's up with it. A new one's coming.
The website, the social media too, that's like almost another way to draw people in
Yes.
and make them feel, give them a little glimpse of what the organization's about and
Yeah.
make them feel welcome.
And Liz Townsend, who is our operations director in marketing, does all the social media. She does a fantastic job.
No, you guys are great. I'm a big fan of the organization. Me and my team, like whatever we can, just support it. Share a lot of the same artists.
We do. We have the same taste.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't want to hold you up too much because I know you have an important
We have a lunch
with
for
one of
my
your
2
students.
interns.
Yeah,
One is going back to, so she is a student at Pratt,
yeah,
but she goes to the one in France.
nice.
And so this past year was her year abroad in New York. But she's heading back to Paris at the weekend, so tomorrow's her last day. And we have Leanne, who's been with us for a few years now, and she's going back to finish her master's in New Jersey, and I'm blanking on the name of her school, so sorry, Leanne.
Yeah.
But her last day is next Wednesday, and so I wanted to have a little lunch to
Oh, yeah.
celebrate my girls. They are awesome, and
Now, where do you guys, if the intern program is
they
that?
find us.
They find you, they
Yeah.
just call you up and then.
Pia was so persistent, and I'm like, I get a ton of emails a day. I'm not always really good about
Yeah.
about checking my emails. So she'd say, "I'm just following up," and she was so tenacious. I was like, "All right, girl, you got this job."
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to sit with us.
Absolutely.
And, I hopefully we can get a part 2 at some point.
Yes.
Every time, I love talking about artists and what we can do to make things better and, anything that we can do to make
You guys
the
are
relationship between
Yeah.
the Frame Center and, the artist, South Shore.
You guys have been so helpful. I mean, I always know a frame center frame.
Yeah.
But you guys have also been so good about sponsoring us and just helping uplift the artist community in general, so
The
I want to
goal
thank
is-
you for that.
The goal is to make sure that people recognize and understand that the South Shore's got a great art community, and, you know, whatever we can do to help build that. And, you know, I think that one of the easiest ways for me to do that, and my team to do that, is to support these, you know, support the organizations, the pillars, like, you know.
We
and
appreciate it.
support the artists, and, you know, getting out and getting pictures of the stuff and pushing it out there for people to see.
Awesome, thank you, Dave.
My pleasure, Patrice, thank you.
Thank you, fourth wall clock.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and keep the notifications turned on so you don't miss any of our future episodes, and you can learn more about the Frame Center Art Project.